everybody. I am Brandy Kelly, and I'm a superintendent on a mission to lead with hope and to help my fellow educators do the same. The Lead with Hope podcast is a bi-weekly podcast that will inspire and empower you to lead with hope. Check out my website at leadwithhope.net. This morning, I am excited to have my guest, Efrain Martinez. He is a father, a husband, a school principal, and an educational leadership podcaster. He's the host of Wisdom and Productivity. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here. A pleasure.
Yes, thank you for coming on the show today. So, Dr. Martinez, today we're just going to start off with you telling the listeners who you are and why you got into education.
Thank you so much once again. My name is Efrain Martinez. When I was born, my father was 54 years old. And when I was 2 weeks old, he put me in a basket and he brought me to his wife. And that's how my story begins. I can tell that trauma lives in both wealth and poverty. So as I was growing up for the outside world, I was having a fantastic life. In the inside world, it was a life with a lot of trauma, including physical trauma. And unfortunately, I'm a sexual abuse survivor. All of these things get together in this will of wanting to be a better version of myself, because I was always put down as if I was not going to be what I wanted. If I wanted to do something, I will be told, oh, you had to be very smart to do something like that. So it has always been this mission of trying to show the world that I could do something. And that ended up being in me wanting to become an educator, specifically wanted to be a principal. I spent a lot of time in the principal's office because when you are living abuse at home, you bring that abuse with you and you share with other people. And therefore, I was constantly being sent to the office. And it was a principal who basically told me, listen, Efrain, there are two decisions you have to make in your life. The things that you have control of, and the things that you don't have control of. And that was my initiation into this stoic thinking about focusing on what you can control or not, which of course I did not conceptualize at that moment, but I remember it vividly. And therefore, I began in the world of education from the very beginning, wanting to be a principal because I wanted to be like that principal that supported me.
So what was that principal's name?
Miss Mendez.
Miss Mendez. And so Miss Mendez was perhaps your earliest mentor, right?
Absolutely. And I think she really took the moment to listen to what I was saying, because usually I was told, bad, this is wrong, why are you doing this? And then when you will try to explain, people will cut you. She will actually listen to you and make you realize that my speech was not very well thought of. I had all these reasons and in my mind excuses, but they lack empathy. They were only concentrating what I was feeling, as if the world has to accommodate itself to accommodate my needs. And she was the first one who really opened my eyes that is so much more than what I am feeling. It's about what everybody is feeling and how you can make the best out of each situation.
That's a powerful story, Efrain. I love that. And I would love to hear more about Miss Mendez and how she has stayed in your life, because as you know, I believe relationships are so incredibly powerful. But there is so much in that introduction that you just shared with us. And whenever I think about our students who do visit the principal's office so frequently, oftentimes we think that it is because they have attention deficit disorder or some kind of a behavioral issue. but sometimes it is just simply trauma. It's things that they're dealing with at home, and they don't have the coping skills. They don't have that resiliency to overcome that. And so that story gives us hope for our future and definitely for our kids. So thank you for sharing that with us. Now, as you know, my philosophy is lead with hope, and that's a system of self-efficacy. H is for habits, O for optimistic outlook, P for passion, purpose, and perseverance, and E stands for excellence. So I am wondering this morning, Efrain, what resonates most with you and why?
So I hope this. I love this acronym of hope. I was telling my family that I learned that from interviewing you the other day. And the first letter of H in terms of habits. Absolutely, if you want to accomplish anything in your life, you need to have your habits and routines in place.
Mhm.
So it all starts with waking up early.
Yeah.
All the successful people in the world wake up early. So wake up early so you can be mindfully present during the day.
Mhm.
By doing this, you're able to do your exercise, which is so important that we do exercise and we are compassionate with others, but
Mhm.
very rigorous with our bodies, because that is going to determine how our older life is going to be. It is so important to have a habit of planning your week. Robin Sharma calls it the blueprint. So basically, every some people do it on Fridays, some people do it on Sundays. I have done both. It depends on how much energy I have at the end of the day on Friday. But
Mhm.
at the very minimum on Sunday, you get a notebook. A Moleskine always works, and you write your schedule of what you're going to do each day of that week. So already your mind is already planning what is going to happen on Thursday and who you're going to see on Friday. So you can start thinking already of the things that you're going to talk about and the things that you have to address and the potential traumatic situation you will have to address. So your mind is like working out in the back of your mind on something, instead of just showing up and saying, well, I don't know what's going to happen today, let me check my agenda. If you really want to be successful in your life, you have to know where you are going. And finally, Todoist is a task manager, and you can use a notebook, you can use To-Do, you can use any app that you want. But to summarize, what David Allen says in Getting Things Done is that the mind is great to generate ideas, but terrible at, at saving them. So with a task manager, you can save all your ideas so you can execute them later. So for example, I can be watching a movie with my kids
Mhm.
and I see something that resembles or makes me think, oh, I need to tell this to the teachers, right? If
Mhm.
I just keep going, I'm going to forget about that potential life saving idea that is to be shared with my teachers or with my spouse or friends or things I need to do. But if you write it in your task manager, for example, speech on the analogy of movie X on Tuesday at 9 a.m. Then on Tuesday, your task manager pop-ups and says, "Oh, this idea," and then you can go back to that moment, and it works like magic. It's like an assistant for your brain. Having a task manager is ideal for success in your life. Then with I keep going if you let me.
Let's talk a little bit about those habits. So you were talking about some great habits that you have implemented in your life, and I think um, you know, using the name of your podcast, that is wisdom and productivity right there. Those habits are gold for wisdom and productivity. And when you were talking about that, you were talking about that task management piece. And the person that I thought of, I had a principal early on in my career. His name was Scott Holst, and he's no longer with us, but he always wore a shirt with a pocket in it, and he had his little notebook and pen in that pocket, no matter where he went. And he said that was his key to success. He had to write things down because otherwise he would forget. And you know this from being a principal. I know this from being a principal. Oftentimes we get those hallway conversations, and as Todd Whitaker says in Shifting the Monkey, people want to shift their monkey onto us, but rather we need to use these tips that you have given us today to utilize our wisdom and productivity so that we are intentional and we have clarity around what we are doing. Efrain, I think that was powerful, and not a lot of people pick habits. So can you tell me a little bit about why that's important to you?
Let me give you the perfect example why it's important. So
Yes.
if you're a school principal, your number one job is to take care of your teachers, because it is through loving the teacher that you love the student. So when you stop by someone's classroom and they tell you about your ailing aunt or grandma, right? You might say, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I hope everything is better. And you move on and you continue in your life, right? 2 weeks from then, the teacher stops you and says about the ailing grandma or aunt, and you're like, huh? Oh, like you're trying to, because you really were not mindfully present in the moment. You acted as if you didn't care. You were listening, right? You were acting as if you cared. But with your task manager, you can put, for example, teacher X, grandma is sick, remind me in 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, you get that memory. And when you see that teacher, you sincerely say, hey, I thought about your grandma. It's true. Your task manager said, hey, this is important for this teacher.
Yeah.
And the teacher is going to be grateful because you listened to what they said. If it is important for them, it has to be important for you, but there's only so much bandwidth. So
Right.
your task manager allows you to do your job better, and that teacher is going to feel so much positive about your leadership that someone that didn't even make an effort to remember of that incident.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, in this interview with you today, I'm writing down things because, like you said, we only have so much bandwidth, and there is so much that we take in on a day to day basis, so many decisions that we're making, whether we're a superintendent, a principal, or a teacher, or anybody in a school district, honestly. So I think the task manager piece is really wonderful. And I know that you do a lot of these interviews on your podcast. You get a lot of wisdom and tips for productivity. So other than a notebook, what are some other things that educators have told you they use to keep their tasks managed?
Absolutely. People have told me that sometimes they use their email as a to-do list. And I have learned through the numerous interviews that that is not the most effective, because the purpose of email is to communicate with people, but it
Right.
should not be an assistant to what you need to do. Because of course you can plan to schedule a email to get back to your inbox 2 weeks from now at 9 a.m. because at 9 a.m. you're going to have time to work on that.
Yeah.
However, by 9 a.m. at the same time, potentially 16 other people are also going to email you. And by the time you scroll down to that email that you're waiting for, your bandwidth is leaving your brain because you see, oh, this is a vendor I need to see. Oh, so-and-so is not coming to school. Oh, the superintendent wants something. And all of these are, instead of you focusing exactly on that. Another thing that I have learned is that you need you need to schedule time to do your work. When I became a principal, I was thinking I'm going to be a servant leader, right? I'm going to be enslaving myself the whole day, serving everybody. And you know what? There's time after school to do email. There's time after school to create a presentation. I'm not saying take the whole day to work on your presentation, but you can schedule an hour here and there to work in your newsletter, to work in the messages that you want to send, to work in your presentations. and still have a fructiferous life as a principal. It's
Mhm.
just about managing your day instead of allowing the day to manage you.
Absolutely. And we often hear educators say there's not enough time in the day, but it is. It's about managing your time, setting priorities, getting clarity around what it is that you want to accomplish in any given day. And there is only 24 hours in a day, but it's about setting priorities. So, very well put. And I love the fact that you talked about always striving to be that better version of yourself through all the habits that you implement. And it all goes back to those relationships. Everything that you have said today has taken us back to the relationships that you have. And I think that the challenge that I would put out there for educators is all of these relationships are important, but they can't be at the cost of the relationships with the people that you live with your wife, with your husband, with your children. I mean, those relationships have to come first. And you have to do some of the things that you're talking about today, as far as scheduling time and planning and taking care of yourself, being mindful, exercising. One last question about these habits before we move on to the next question. I'm going to be vulnerable and I'm going to be honest. This exercise one is elusive to me. For some reason, I cannot get into a good routine with exercise. And I'm wondering if other people listening today are having that same issue. And if you have any insight on how to establish that specific habit for those that struggle.
Well, the number one thing is to accept that
Mhm.
we are not going to be Michael Jordan in everything that we do.
Right.
Okay. So you have to give yourself grace and know that you are able to accomplish different things at different levels, right?
Mhm.
The problem is that if we are like kicking butt at work and we are earning awards and our schools are doing great, and perhaps we are working our spouse and our children, and we do all this stuff for us, for everybody else,
Mhm.
but at the end, we forget to take care of ourselves, right? And there's no way you can love someone or something 100% if you're not putting yourself first. The principle is you have to love yourself as if you were someone that you are taking care of.
Mhm.
Because, like, if you think about it, if you don't take care of yourself, what you are doing is causing those that love you to have to take care of you when you are no longer able to do so.
Right.
Robin Sharma says, health is the crown that only the sick can see.
Mm.
So that principle is important because we have to take care of our health before it is too late. After it is too late, it is too late, right?
Right.
So please sit down. If you are working in a school district, means that you have access to health insurance.
Mhm.
Make an appointment with a nutritionist. Let them tell you what to eat, what not to eat, because most of the diseases of Americans are due because of our bad diet.
Mhm.
So when you start eating well, your body is going to feel better, which is going to allow you to sustain a little bit more discomfort in exercise. And let me tell you, you will never regret exercising, but
Mhm.
you will always regret not doing so.
Oh, I totally agree with you. My dad is 76 years old and he was diagnosed with Parkinson's at the age of 60. And something you said there just really resonated with me because whenever I see him, I encourage him to exercise. I encourage him to eat healthy. I encourage him to do all the things that I know we need to do. And it all starts with that self love that you talked about. So thank you for sharing that wisdom. I appreciate it. So now, when you think about how you specifically lead at school, at work, in your life, how do you lead with hope, Efrain?
Well, when I started as a principal, I was failing terribly.
Mhm.
At the beginning, I will blame the graduate school of education, my teachers, the educator system, because I had this idea that to be the leader in the school, I had to be the smartest teacher in the building.
Yeah.
before realizing that the smartest teacher in the building is when we work all together and everybody is playing their positions to the highest caliber possible. Think
Mhm.
about any sports. Let's say it's soccer. Like you want your defender to be defending at the best caliber so the midfielder can pass the ball and the forward and the strikers can score. It is all a system of playing, and you never see the coach getting into the field and scoring a goal. So
Mhm.
I thought my job was to teach teachers how to teach better, when my goal was to observe like the coach in the sidelines and praising what is good, and through inquiry allowing the teacher to get to the point where they need to be.
Mhm.
And sometimes you are going to have teachers that are not Jordan, and that is okay, because your job as a teacher, and leading with this acronym of HOPE,
Mhm.
is to give the teachers all the support possible so when they're in this step in their life, they can go to the next step.
Mhm.
Instead of thinking, no, you have to be the best teacher in the world. If not, you are a bad teacher and you don't care for students. That is the wrong approach. What
Mhm.
it creates is animosity. And this system where in all the schools that you hear about and the shows you see in TV is this battle of teachers versus administrators. When, if you think about it, in war, in
Mhm.
sports, in politics, like people had to be united in order to achieve successes. That
Yeah.
means principals working with teachers and their unions and
Mhm.
the educational assistants and all the people, the OTs and all the people, the vendors. Everybody has to be working in an ecosystem
Mhm.
to create this product that is to allow children to be the best versions of themselves at school.
Right.
So it is very important for me every morning before we start, I go classroom by classroom and
Mhm.
embrace each teacher as if a coach embraces their team members before a game. It is so essential to get them pumped up. How are you doing? Let's do this. But sometimes you have to pause
Yeah.
because they have something to tell you, some tragic event, and this is when all those task managers come. Oh, this teacher needs me. I need to come back. Let me put a reminder, because a million things are going to happen and you're
Mhm.
going to forget that teacher. And for that teacher, when they share that with you, it was the most important thing. And
Mhm.
again, it's like a circle of positivity. When
Mhm.
you do good things happen. When that teacher feels that you care for them and you
Yeah.
inquire and you do something, that teacher in turn is going to do their best work of art because they feel embraced, they feel supported, and they feel their leader takes care of them. So
Yeah.
for me, that is the way you lead. It's not about the numbers. The numbers come afterwards.
Mhm.
It's about the people. When you concentrate in the people can concentrate in the student, and that's how we make the world better.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That circle of positivity. And I completely agree that it goes back to those relationships. Once again, it goes back to those relationships, and it's about progress over perfection, taking care of our people.
Amen.
Right now, what project are you working on? What are you excited about? What's fueling your passion?
So I I am I have been wanting to write a book forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I did my doctoral dissertation on dispositions of emotional intelligence in school principals. But I feel that there's, from the time I graduated in 2020 and now, so many things have happened.
Yeah.
And what I am working on is like a precursor to that book. I
Mm-hmm.
am designing an admin academy
Okay.
for school leaders who want to renew their license. And it's really a kind of selfish project because it's like the preparation for that book. The course is going to be called The Wisdom and Productivity of School Leadership.
Mm.
And it's going to start from we start with Plato, about Plato's cave, this thinking of what things, the way the world is trying to make us think about things, but how school leaders have to think about it differently and get out of that cave.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes through all these things about emotional intelligence, about power, about principles, about habits. And it's a combination of what I have learned from my doctoral studies and my interviews with numerous people like you, Brandy, about the lesson I have learned of how to do this work in an effective way, and also having a fructiferous life.
I love that. I think that you've hit on something as far as that collective efficacy, because we said it and it became kind of a cliche through the pandemic, but we are better together. Your story, the things that you're doing, the wisdom that you have gleaned from your podcast, sharing that forward is just going to help us all get better. So thank you for your work. Thank you for sharing your passion with us. And as we close out this podcast interview today, tell the listeners how they can connect with you.
Sure. So I have a not a fancy website, but it has all the links where you can find my stuff, wisdomandproductivity.com. And you're going to be able to find my access to my YouTube account, to my Teach Better account, and all the interviews I have been on. And it's a great way to connect with me too.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I appreciate getting to know you better. And I look forward to staying connected. There's so much gold in what you're doing. So thank you and have a great day.
You too.
All right.
Leading with Hope is an intentional practice requiring self-reflection and self-awareness. Check out my website at leadwithhope.net and subscribe to my monthly newsletter. My newsletter provides 3 tips, 2 quotes, and 1 question that will help you build self-efficacy and lead with hope. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great day.